My name is Gloria Riva, and I'll be emceeing tonight's forum. Venezuela is in the midst of many challenges, as we all know, as the revolutionary government works with the government and civil society institutions to build a new society, a process that began with the great leader and president Hugo Chavez. First and foremost, Venezuela has had to contend with the U.S. government's unending campaign to destabilize, to finance and foment dangerous opposition elements, whose aim is to overthrow the constitutional Bolivarian government. Despite the tremendous developments, 900,000 housing units, and so much else, the job creation, the reduction of poverty, all we hear in the Western media is that Venezuela is an economic basket case, and they blame it on the policies of Chavez and now President Maduro. But you can bet that if a right-wing government were to take power, we would see what has happened in so many other countries that have been overthrown or have their economies ruled and dominated by imperialism. The great oil wealth of Venezuela would be privatized, and the statistics of poverty would go skyward, as they were before Chavez. There would be the cancellation of the Constitution and abolition of Congress, as happened for 48 hours in 2002. We, along with all the sponsors tonight, support and defend the Bolivarian Revolution of Venezuela. And we look forward to Justice Vegas informing us of the country's judicial system, of the upcoming National Assembly elections this coming December, and the process of the recent prosecution of some of the opposition. What Justice Vega will do is give a presentation on the Constitution and the process, and then answer questions, any questions you may have, which I think we want to leave a lot of room for that. Justice Fernando Torrealba is a distinguished jurist and the first vice president of the Supreme Court of Venezuela, having been appointed by President Hugo Chavez in 2004 and taking office in 2005. He is also president of the division of the court known as the Electoral Board. The Supreme Court of Justice is the highest court in Venezuela, consisting of 32 judges in 6 divisions. The Electoral Board is the division that oversees the election process in Venezuela. Justice Vegas was born in 1946 in Caracas, Venezuela, and he obtained his primary and secondary school education in Caracas and in Pennsylvania at the Malvern Preparatory School. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in law from the Central University of Venezuela and was a professor of the sociology of law department at that institution for several years. Justice Vegas is an expert on the significant reforms occurring in Venezuela under the 1999 Bolivarian Constitution, of which he will speak. It's the first constitution to be approved by popular vote in the whole history of Venezuela, and the longest lasting one. He's an expert in commercial relations and has written extensively in this area. He's also the author of 2 novels and numerous essays in political and literary journals. And he has a long history from the 1960s as a young radical university activist, of which many of us can identify with. And I hope we can hear some of that history. So we want to give a very warm welcome to Justice Fernando Vegas Torrealba.
Good evening all. It's my pleasure being here with you people to have a conversation about a revolution, about a constitution, how it was drawn, and at the end we're going to leave an ample space for questions and answers. I'm pretty sure you all have questions, and I'm going to try to provide some answers. The first thing Hugo Chavez did when he got to power because he won in a landslide election in 1998 was to change the Constitution to give support, legal legitimacy to the revolution. So what they did was to make a very ample and wide consultation with the people. It was taken to all universities, unions, students, workers, professionals, peasants, everywhere the principles of the Constitution were discussed, starting with the proposal that Hugo Chavez made. And it was so intense that they collected the opinion of the people written in small pieces of papers all over the country. Over 60,000 propositions made by the people, common, simple people that had an idea of what they wanted. And these were grouped in sectors according to the areas they touched, and the Constituency Assembly then gave form to this new constitution that was later submitted to the approval of people in elections. So that's how we have a new constitution. A new constitution that gave a new form to the organization of the states, that ampled a lot the rights of the people. It's got the chapter of the human rights, civil, social, economical, familiar, environmental rights. It's well over the 130 articles. I don't think there's any other constitution that has so much articles dedicated to the human rights up to fourth generation. We're going to go through a PowerPoint. We're going to do it in a hasty manner, as long as you can get an idea of how the Constitution is divided, how the Constitution that took the will of the people and made it law for all, fundamental law for all. Is it?
We apologize, but we're going to take down the picture of Chavez to fit.
He'll allow it, I'm sure.
Oh. Oh.
So how are the powers organized? We have the municipal power, state power, more or less that you have it here, the national power. How is the municipal power? City or regional councils, local legislation, mayors, or the administration, local administration, and the municipal controller that audits and control the expense and the income of the counties. State power more or less is like this: legislative council, the governor, and the state controller. The same level, more or less like you have in here also. National power has the legislative, the parliament, the National Assembly. We have an executive president, a vice president, which is the administration with its ministers, and the judicial power. Until here are the classical powers. Then we have two more powers, which is the citizens' power, integrated by the General Prosecutor of the Republic, the Republic National Controller, and the People Defender, the Ombudsman. And finally, we have the electoral power, the CNE, because CNE not only organizes national elections, but it checks on union elections, for example. And even can take care of professional elections or guilds of professionals. But that's only voluntarily. But unions must go through the CNE, for example. The National Assembly has one chamber with 167 elected representatives, 3 representatives elected by natives, minorities. It went up to, they have 2 more. For next elections, there are going to be 2 more because of the growth of the population. All in one chamber. Principal functions, legislation, political control of the administration, and approval of the national budget. Citizens' power exercised by the Republican Ethics Council. That's integrated, like I told you before, by the General Prosecutor, the People Defender, and the General Controller of the state. Functions, prevention, investigation, and punishment of actions that undermine public ethics and administrative morale. Electoral power exercised by the National Electoral Council, integrated by 5 principles with no ties to political parties, nominated free by civil society and run by schools of law, universities, of the national universities, and citizens' power names 1. They're elected by the National Assembly. Executive power has the president, the vice president, the ministers. There are 28 ministers. I'm not going to read them, but it's true. Judicial power, all right. You have the Superior Tribunal of Justice. You have the chambers that integrate the High Court, the plenary of the chamber, the Constitutional Chamber, the Social Chamber, the Criminal Chamber, the Electoral Chamber, the Administrative Political Chamber, the Civil Chamber. Then we have the Superior Courts and the First Instance Courts in all the areas, different areas, civil, criminal, social, and municipal courts, which are the lowest in the region. These courts are organized according to the territorial material jurisdiction, municipal courts regarding the county territory, state courts regarding the territory of each state, and national courts with jurisdiction over the nation's territory. For the material jurisdiction, civil and trade, labor, child and adolescence, agrarian, criminal, contentious, administrative, which is the one that takes care of the conflicts between the citizens and the government in each level, and the electoral courts. The constitutional jurisdiction is exercised by the Constitutional Chamber. Like any court of law can apply the constitutional control in the case taken into their knowledge. Civil, trade, and agrarian, superior and first instance, labor courts, circuits, superior judge, trial judge, and mediation judge. We have a lot of mediation there. Most of the problems are solved in the mediation instance. Child and adolescents, court circuits, superior judges, trial judges, and mediation judges. Criminal court circuits, Court of Appeals, 3 judges, trial judge, first instance, and control judge, that's also first instance. Contentious administrative, superior courts with 3 judges, and contentious administrative judges, which would be the first instance. Human rights in the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Title 3. Title 3 is devoted to human rights, like I said before. from Article 19 to Article 31, general provisions. From there on, next chapters are dedicated to special issues. National citizenship, those articles there. Civil rights, from Article 43 to Article 61. Political rights and public referenda, the recalls referendum, among them, from Article 62 to Article 74. Social and family rights from Article 75 to Article 97. Cultural and educational rights, from Article 96 to 111. Economic rights, from Article 112 to 118. Rights of Native people, from Article 119 to Article 126. Environmental rights, from Article 127 to 129. And then you have the duties. 5 articles. The rest are the rights. The dictatorship we have done in Venezuela. The community councils. This is one of the special items of a revolution because people are organized in communal councils and they detect the needs of the community. They get help, technical help to make the new plans to solve them, and they get the financing from the state. They have their own budgets, they have their own bank, where the funds are deposited, so they administrate. I think this is quite original. You don't find it in any other revolution. You find committees that defend the revolution, committees that administrate a state funding to take care of their problems. I think this is unique. I'm not gonna say we haven't had any problems. We're gonna have problems, but at the least, people really care for the community and they want to solve the problems they have in the community. And if you give them the strength, the financial strength to do it, you're really empowering them. Not only politically, but with the funding they need to take care of things, to solve problems, to make schools, to make roads, to pave roads, to make aqueducts, to make cultural clubs. The development of this communal council, we have over 66,000 of them, has gone that they get together and they form communes, 3, 4 of them, so they have a much ampler space and they can collaborate among them and make more efficient their action in the communes. To belong to a communal council, you have to be a resident of the community, over 15 years of age, and do not exercise positions resulting of popular vote. So a deputy cannot belong to it. A mayor cannot belong to it. A city council member cannot belong to it. It has to be legitimately something from the community, directly from the community. What are their attributions? Create their bylaws, approve regulations for the neighborhood, development of plans for the community, approval of plans presented to them, social control, evaluation and approval of the financial turnover. Are they designated? They're elected by public, direct, and secret vote in citizens' assembly. Can also be recalled by the vote of it. They act for a term of 2 years. They have no salary. I don't know. What are the origin of the resources they get? Mostly they come from central administration, the state and counties. The Republic created a national fund for communal councils to funnel the resources designated to communal projects that are previously approved by the Presidential National Commission for the Guidance, Coordination, and Evaluation of Development of Community Councils. Someone has to help to keep priority. It's not the same to start spending something in a social club instead of a school. Someone has to say, let's start with the school, then we go for the social club. For this purpose, this National Commission operates through regional commissions and local commissions. This is an example of civil works in the community. The central administration stays in the country island over it. The communal council executes the project sanctioned by the executive organ of the communal council, approved by the local commission of coordination and evaluation, receives the funding. The funds go to the communal bank, and the executive organ is the one that signs the contract with whomever they contract the civil work with. They can also make it by themselves. Mostly are made by themselves. They buy, the needed instruments of it, and they make the work. They construct the civil work by themselves. They need to contract it. They sign the contract, not the governor, not the mayor. They sign it. The executive council. The social control verifies the construction. They have a commission of social control. But any member of the community can make a claim about some misbehavior with the funds or whatever. And then the communal bank pays. Now we're open to the questions and answers, which I feel is going to be particularly.
I wanted to make a quick comment, and I also have a question. And the comment is that I've spent most of my adult life in Colombia. And one of the things that Venezuela did for the Venezuelan people, they also did a great amount for the Colombian people of the solidarity and the example and the place of reunion and the place of where many, many Colombians who were displaced could go. And thank you, it's really been an incredible thing that Venezuela has done for Colombia. And my question is if you could talk about the project of the Banco de la Mujer, the bank of the Women's Bank, that is also a very participatory bank for women in Venezuela.
Yes.
And then Susan, yes.
So, I'm Susan Scott from the National Lawyers Guild and brought Fernando here tonight. He met us 9 years ago when a group of us from the Lawyers Guild went down to Venezuela, and we just completely by chance happened to meet Fernando and started getting to know him, bringing him here and spending time with him whenever we go to Venezuela. We go down often on electoral delegations as, international acompañantes for the Venezuelan elections, and everybody who has gone down, I think we probably sent about 60 people from the Guild down now, and everyone comes back completely blown away by the elections in Venezuela. And since Fernando, if you're from the electoral chamber and the elections are coming up, if you could talk a little bit about how amazingly inclusive the system is in Venezuela. 97% of the people are registered, and usually like 70 or more percent actually vote, and it's not mandatory to vote, but it's really, really taken seriously, and you would never know it from our media.
Yeah. And then the gentleman here.
When the Constitution was first approved by the people, I heard a lot of comments from the right that, oh my God, you know, what a horrible thing has happened. And they were, I don't know much detail about it, but they were trying to undermine or reform the new Constitution. It never happened as far as I know. But later on, more recently, before Chavez died, still they were complaining that the Bolivarian government was not following the Constitution, the very one that they were moaning about. So I wonder if you have comments about that.
Okay, so I'll just repeat it quickly for those who didn't hear. The question about the project of the Women's Bank, to please explain the Women's Bank. The second one was to please talk about the inclusiveness of the elections and how remarkable they are. The third was that when the Constitution was first approved, the right wing was horrified about it, trying to undermine and change the Constitution, but recently they've claimed that the Bolivarian Constitution is not being followed. So if you could comment on that.
Yes, of course. One of the first institutions created by President Chavez, because it was an executive order, was the Bank of Women. Because women, through history, have shown their capacities, their initiatives, and in our countries, it happens to be that women are the ones who keep the family on their shoulder. Right? They're the ones that carry on. And the idea of this bank was to fund cooperatives taken by women for clothing, for shoes, for textiles. And that has been, has a lot of success. Most of them are taken by women. And it's working properly, as far as I know. Not only those, the banks have to have one of these drawers of credits for women that they have for agrarian purposes and for the other creditors, solicitors' purposes. So you can see the inspiration the women have in our revolution as the way they belong to the leadership of the revolution and government. We have a woman as head of the Supreme Court. Our general attorney is a woman. We have had vice presidents, women. Many ministers are women. I would say roughly more than half of the judges of the country are women. A lot of ministers are women. I mean, the women in the revolution have been recognized as a fundamental part of society and a real motor of the dynamics of family and society. About the electoral question that Susan planted. There is no doubt that if you compare how the elections behaved in the years before Chavez, you will find a lot of difference. Because what happened those days, that they prevented people from voting. Something that happens in other countries. Similar. They try to keep the people on the barrios in the hills not to come down. So the centers of voting where you cast your votes were away from them. So it was very difficult for them, for a woman to leave their children alone to go and vote, because it would take 2 or 3 hours for them to get to the voting center. With the revolution, it's the contrary. They made voting centers in the barrios, not in the high class or the middle class neighborhoods, but in the barrios. they gave ID cards, which is necessary for you to vote, to everybody. We, in these years previous to Chavez, 40 years of representative democracy, I would say 30–40% of the population didn't have an ID card. They didn't need it. They never came down from the ghettos. I'm sorry, from the barrios. So this is a big step because this integrated everybody to the system of elections. Everybody could vote, can express themselves. And this is one of the successes of the revolution, because these people that didn't count for anything, now had a voice and had an opinion, and a very definite opinion about things, matters of the government, and matters of the parliament, and matters of the judiciary. When we talk about participatory democracy, you immediately think of the BRICS, something that's impossible nowadays. But there's a lot of ways of doing participatory democracy. When you consult the people before you do something, before you take action that you think, you presume it's going to help the people, but since you don't consult them, you really don't know. In the previous years, it was done that way because you were answering to other interests that were not properly the people's interests. So, there are many, many examples of this. And many examples of things that haven't been done because of what the people said. There was after Chavez got to power, they were throwing a line of high voltage to Brazil. And they have to put these towers in Indian land, Indian sacred land. They started to build it, but the Indians stopped it. And they had to look for another space to do it, even though it costs more. That wouldn't have happened in the previous years. They would have done it anyway. And if the Indians opposed, they would get someone to get in an order there. Well, that's participatory democracy. That's one of the examples. Our electoral system, which is completely automatized, it's impossible. I'm not talking about other things that happen in elections. If someone takes advantage of his post in the government, that's something else. But the system is completely, I'm not going to say perfect, because nothing is absolutely perfect, but it's the most near thing to perfection is that I know of, a matter of elections. Because the machine don't even open it until someone gets his thumb there. It won't open. It's got to be the guy that owns that ID card, that citizen that's going to vote. It's got to be him himself. No one else can do it unless he cuts his finger. It takes him to vote. It's the only way. So it's laughable when you hear all these people saying that transparency of the elections is completely stupid. Because it's impossible to do it. It hasn't been like that always. It worked itself to perfection. About 8 years ago, still we didn't have that. That to open it, you have to put your thumb and your prints to open the machine in order to cast your vote. And I remember an election in Táchira that was won by the opposition. And of course, the guy from the PSUV went to our chamber to claim the election for him, to have it voided. There was a difference of about 3,000 votes to the governorship. And they did something tricky. Because since you took your print in a list, in a roll, where you sign that you vote and you take your print, but the machine was opened by the president of the center, who put down a switch and then you could go and vote. So that was the intervention of man. In this county of where the capital is, the capital of the state, it's oppositionist. It's always been. And since the people who are members of the centers are picked out in a random manner, of course, it's mostly to happen that they will be from the opposition because they control 60% of the vote. So it's rare to find that the Chavistas control. The opposition controls the centers. So what they did is that they make the situation for the Chavistas who were witnesses in the center unsustainable. They picked on them, they set the alarms of their cars, they took the chairs. Well, the Chavistas were eager to go, and they knew they lost, so they were eager to go. So what they did is that when the Chavistas went, and they stamped there some kind of signature, and they put 10, 20 votes in each one of the centers. And how did we get to this number? Because when they went there, we asked for the record of the machine that was picking the prints to make the record, to make the basis, to make the records. Because we were putting that up, the CNE, in order to, in the future, do it the way we're doing it now, since 2012. Only with your fingerprint you can open it, because now all the population is registered, and you can do it. At that time, we were picking up the prints. But there you check the difference. There was a difference between the people that voted, the number of people that voted, and the number of people who had their prints registered. So mathematically, arithmetically, we just took them out and declared them voided. But it wasn't enough to void the whole election, because it didn't have any definite influence in the outcome. From 3,000 votes, there was a difference. We voided half of it, a little bit more. So the guy from the opposition still won. But the only people that have done tricky things about elections are them. I remember the night I went to talk to him. He went and talked to me. Look, I thought, if you won by one vote, you'll get your election. But if you lost it, you also we're going to have to turn you down. And he won. But this is how definitely transparent are these elections. These machines have a paper trail that allows you to audit the results. You have machines in Brazil, but they don't have this paper trail through which you can check the result, cross-check it. Jimmy Carter said it's the best electoral system of the world. And he has seen elections in Venezuela. He had the experience of seeing truly the elections in Venezuela. Another thing is that if you take advantage of your post, something that they do here, they do it everywhere. The opposition does it there also. where there are governors, where there are mayors, they take advantage of the cars they have in their offices, and I figure they give contracts to people that will help them later around with money for the campaigns and so forth. That's okay, they're taking advantage. But that's properly is not the electoral system. That's something else. That can be punished because those are electoral crimes. But necessarily you cannot measure in which way they can the influence of these things can take you to say this election must be voided because 500,000 votes are void, because the governor lent the car to the leader of the. It's nuts. I mean, you need when you're gonna check an election as a judge, you need concrete substance to see if those votes conducted to that result. The votes that you counted. So you cannot get into the spirit someone to say if he bought his will, cast a vote. How can you prove that? You know that happens. But how can you prove it? In what amount? Okay, the third question was?
Third question is, what about the fact that the right wing
Oh, yeah.
was against the Constitution?
That's
and
very
now-
interesting because they made campaign against the Constitution. When it was going to be approved by a referendum, they made campaign against it. They voted for no. They asked the people to vote no for it because it was a communist constitution. In the Constitution, somewhere, I don't know where, it said that the kids were going to be sent away to Cuba, not to the Soviet Union. But then they found out, that eventually they found out that the Constitution were for all the Venezuelans, and they're Venezuelans. And their rights are as good as the rights of the Chavistas. The right to protest, the rights to freedom of expression, the right to a due process, like any other citizen. So then now, they use it. They use it for themselves to claim to the world that we are against the Constitution. The Chavistas. Okay.
Talk about some specific articles of the Constitution. You talked about the general groups. There's an article of the Constitution on the death penalty. There's an article of the Constitution on indigenous rights. There's an article of the Constitution on environmental rights. There's an article of the Constitution on recall elections. Just briefly talk a little bit about some of those things, if you will, please.
And then, who did it tell next? Was it Richard?
I just wanted to make a quick comment that I really appreciate this presentation because it reminds us of some of the things that aren't in our Constitution. Maybe you would like to comment on that.
And Susan. Me? No, not Susan, Debbie. Oh, I'm sorry. Debbie.
I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit about protection of the environment and how the Constitution addresses, especially the natural environment. Is there a minister of the environment? I couldn't read it on your long list of ministers. Small issues, how do they get resolved? Major national issues, how would they get resolved? Endangered species, climate change, all of that. Just give us an example or a little. Thank you.
And, yes, please. Talk no loud.
All right, just out of curiosity, I'd like to know your opinion on the presidency of Dilma Rousseff in Brazil.
The presidency?
Oh,
Dilma Rousseff?
Yeah.
What do you want me to comment about her?
Just kind of what you think about it. Do you approve of it? Do you dislike it? Or
All right.
just what you think?
And then, one more person,
David.
In my visit to Venezuela in July, I was very impressed with the functioning and the function of the communal councils and the communes as a kind of an alternative parallel track toward participatory democracy, because it really bypasses the government. But I'm wondering, an important organizing principle of most attempts at 20th century socialism was to vest more and more power in workers, whether organized or not, through their unions or through their workplaces, through workers' councils. And I know that there are some parts of the Constitution that deal with labor rights, and there's a very progressive labor law. But in not mentioning that, I just wonder, is it part of the conception of building the new Venezuela to have more direct power through actual workers' councils, in addition to or in parallel to the community neighborhood councils that you spoke about? And if not, why not?
Indigenous. We don't have that many Indians in Venezuela. Roughly, we should have about 15,000, 20,000 Indians. Because they were mistreated. I'm not talking way back to the Spaniards invasion, right? 300, 500 years ago. I'm talking 100 years ago. They were a lot less, and they resulted in even much lesser because the treatment they gave. For example, they were used to pick cotton in the haciendas, in the farms, and they were paid with food. The food that the owner wanted to keep them. And if you go down, more down to the plains, to Los Llanos, they hunted them. So the advance that the originals have with our constitution are quite big. They have a ministry of their own that takes care of their etnias, that take care of their needs. They have, they solve with their own justice certain problems. Of course, I'm not talking about criminal issues, but certain problems between neighbors, even familiar problems or civil problems are done with their system of justice. Our environmental, and here I connect with you. The lady talked about this. There was a time that they said we were making an atomic bomb with the Iranians, and that it was on the mainstream media. That we were making a bomb with the Iranians, and the Constitution prohibits not only the fabrication of bombs, of these atomic bombs, but just to keep them, or biological weapons or chemical weapons. The Constitution prohibits it. So how stupid it was, but people believed it. Because mainstream media, created this trend, this, how do you call it? Trending political topics. Right. They do it all the time. I don't know if you probably remember this journalist Gary Watts, or no, Gary Webs.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Gary Webs.
They destroyed the guy. Completely destroyed him. Completely. He lost his family. I don't know. They found him dead with a shot in his head. And they ruled suicide. But they destroyed the guy. In Venezuela, we have that problem because our media answers to the opposition. And from there, the nutrients of the world mainstream media are our newspapers. And that's what runs in the world. It's very difficult for us to get the truth out. As an example, I read this article in the New York Times that appeared, I think yesterday. Dan sent it to me this morning. About the actual economical situation. And they, of course, they speak truths there, but they omit a lot. And they, have a crooked opinion about things. Because most of what is happening, of course, must be a basic somewhere, mistake somewhere. But the truth is, this is a creation. This is a creation because there is a mixture of two systems functioning. There is a system that wants to work for the people and they subsidize the food. And there's another that opposes it. It doesn't want that. So it disturbs the other system. And they overweight it. And maybe that's where probably we have made some mistakes in good faith. Because those are mistakes made trying to get a better way of life for the people. I'm talking about the exchange control. But they have taken advantage of that. For example, one of the things the article says, it only talks about the 630 versus the black market exchange rate. That's around 700 bolivars. But there's another exchange rate that's 1250. That's by which the imports are made by these privates. But the price in Venezuelan bolívares that they put on the articles are done at the exchange rate of the black market. So that's what prices rise so much. Roughly one third of the subsidized food the government brings goes to Colombia, to the border. Because that part of Colombia is completely forgotten about from the central government. So we have over there, a whole dish wine that's taking the subsidized food. Now the border has been closed, has gone down a bit. But those are the troubles we're getting. We're getting because we're getting fire from all sides. And of course we've got difficulties. We expect that maybe next year we'll get rid of them all. But now we have difficulties. Yes, we do.
I want to make a comment about the U.S. Constitution and the rights of the Venezuelans.
Yes. Well, the U.S. Constitution is one of the oldest. It's previous to the French Revolution. And you find things in it, the few things you find in it, because you don't find social rights here. You find some civil rights. Some, not many, but some. And you find, I was telling Susan when we were coming here, when Madison did this amendment to the Bill of Rights, one of those amendments was that anyone in the States can have a gun and a militia, private militia. So, and that's in the Constitution. It still is. So, what can you offer about that Constitution? Probably in its days, it was very progressive. Nowadays, it cannot offer much. But I have heard things like this. I was one in the American University And someone stood up in the public to say that he doesn't understand why do we have to change our constitution, the Venezuelan Constitution. Right, 350 articles. What happened to you guys? You got out of your mind? This great country has so many years, 300 years, 500 years, 300 years, with only one constitution. You don't need to change your constitution. So, and it is a great country. It is. I mean, every time I come here, I find that this is a very organized country with nice people, people that care for each other, people that so you don't have to see, just the bad part. The trouble is, who's really governing? Who's really taking the decisions? That is the problem. We used to be like that. The guys who took the decisions were the big guys of the capital. Nowadays, it's not like that, so they fight back. They want that again. And they do all kind of tricky things. And with their allies, with the press. And we cannot exclude other forms of opposition, much more cruel and even with bloodshed, because they don't stop. They don't stop. It's not about movies. It's reality. It's reality. We have it there. We have had a lot of political assassinations. Okay,
The last one is, he said he was impressed with the communal
Dilma Rousseff, something Dilma Rousseff.
Oh, Dilma Rousseff.
I'll be very brief about it.
And then impressed with the communal councils and most socialism of the 20th century was invested in workers' rights and how
And
does that,
something about the unions, yeah.
in terms of the communal council and the unions?
No social intervention was less than. Yes, that's yeah. Well, about Dilma Rousseff, I'm going to be brief about it. Dilma Rousseff is one of the representatives of the New Latin America, one of these new leadership. By the way, she was part of the uprising, of the leftist uprising in Brazil after João Goulart was deposed and Anio Quadros were deposed. She was taken into custody, she was tortured. So she's not just someone that just got there. She's been a fighter all through her life. And I think they're determined to take her down. They are doing a lot of things to take her down. Because Brazil is key because of their size, their omnipresence in the middle of South America. And she and the president that's ending her term of Argentina, she's also had a lot of difficulties.
Christina.
Yes, they are playing hardball with her also. But we have to cope with that. We have to fight back. But they are targets. Of course they're targets. About the unions. We have tried. But it's not easy. When you're accustomed to things, when leaders have a past of bargaining and getting some advantages for themselves, their sons, etc., and you have that injected under your flesh, you need a new leadership. So, to do something with those leaders will take you very far. We have tried. We have given complete enterprises for them to administer, to manage, and they put their friends and family there. And the thing doesn't work. have other successful experiences. But so far, it's not so hot. Okay? We need more cultural preparation. We need more school. We need more ideology. Because it's people that come for 40, 50 years of doing the same thing. I'm saying this because I know we're all leftists here. So I feel in family. Okay? This is why I say it. So those are difficulties you confront. But you have to cope with them and you have to, try to get progress going.